What's going on, Xbox gamers, PlayStation gamers, PC gamers, gamers in general who just love playing video games? Like myself, I love them all. Though I do have my preferences. I love Nintendo, of course, the most. And I'm loving PC gaming lately. I love the Xbox community too. I love what Microsoft does for gaming. Game Pass shows love to PC gamers, not just Xbox lovers and gamers in general. Microsoft has done a lot of great things for the gaming industry lately. I think Sony is the weakest lately. And that's very easy to see. They are selling a $700 machine. They're getting in bed with DEI, ESG nonsense. Microsoft does this too to a degree, but at least they benefit the gaming community. Sony does not. They lied also a lot about making games only on PlayStation 5 at the beginning of the generation, but they did not do that. They ended up doing cross-gen just like Microsoft did. And a lot of things that people were mocking Microsoft for, Sony ended up following suit. Same thing, changing their model to appear more like Game Pass. Party chat was invented by Microsoft, you know what I mean? They've done a lot of great things in gaming. And online PS3 was free, and then they started charging it and putting free games like Microsoft did. They want to go back into the handheld industry. Now Sony's following suit. Cloud service, now Sony's doing the cloud service. Like, you can kind of see these things where it's like, just give credit to where credit is due. And then Sony tries to rip off Nintendo a lot too. They also betrayed Japan. So if a lot of people are wondering why I'm very harsh on Sony, it's because they need to do way better. And they ain't all that. And then you have a lot of ponies that kiss their ass and defend them. And I'm like, they're not all that. They're actually overrated. And they're what I like to call a massive third-party vampire, where they take a lot of games, they lock it there, and then they vampire off of that to get success for their ego. They make a bunch of movie games, and they lock a lot of games out away from other people instead of being more unified. They even were denying crossplay last generation and letting communities die because of that to make theirs look better. I'm not really a fan of Sony. I don't like their ways. I feel like they're full of shit, and their arrogance has misled them a lot. They're blowing half the generation. That's why they fired Jim Ryan, because he threw all those developers on gas rush. Naughty Dog lost their delay. You know what I mean? They had to cancel Last of Us Factions, and then they come out with this other stuff. Then we see the failure of Concord, and then they have this fair game that they still might be pushing. They're just not doing as well as people think. And because they have a loyal, blind fan base, they buy their consoles. But if you look deeper past the hardware sales, that's just getting the machine. They've actually been disappointing, and Microsoft has been doing better than them. Look at the way they're finishing this year with Call of Duty. Look at the way they're finishing the year with Indiana Jones. Look at a lot of games that they're putting on Game Pass lately. It's been very good. The quality is there, like big time. They dropped a Microsoft Flight Simulator as well too. At the beginning of the year, we had Hellblade. I mean, their first party was better than Sony's this year and last year. Sony only had two big games, Spider-Man last year and Astrobot this year. The rest are second party games that they locked there that should be on other consoles. Just let other people play it. So a lot of people were wondering why I was doing what I'm doing. And then you got the toxic fan base just harassing the Xbox community for 2 straight generations, and then when it's their turn, they can't handle it. I'd say you guys are very weak and immature. I love all gaming. You see my Xbox controllers right here. Also have my other controller, and I use the gold one for PC. Where the hell is my PlayStation controller at? It's right over here. Right there, and my Switch controllers in the back. I do not feel like grabbing that. But I game on all, but I call out bullshit when I see it. So I'm going to make another video about this as well, but you know, let's go ahead and get into this. As we see in this video, I've told people that the PS5 Pro is CPU limited. Sony shouldn't have gave people a 2TB SSD. Instead, they should have upgraded the CPU and kept a disk drive in there, but they didn't do that. In this video, you will see the Series X still keeping up with the PS5 Pro and CPU, because of its CPU, actually, my bad. And the reason why, like I said before, is because some games are very CPU demanding. Space Marine 2 is one of them. So you may see image improvement on the PS5 here at the beginning, but when performance comes to play, you're going to see the Series X keep that 60 more than these other two for that specific reason. And that's because of the CPU limits. Plain and simple. Let's get into this. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think.
Marine 2 came out, it looked stunning, but it was really wreaking havoc on a lot of good high-end PCs as well as consoles. Maybe I sound a bit harsh. It was respectable on console considering how good the game looks. Series S only ran at 30 FPS, but the game was playable. The Series X and PS5 did have 60 FPS performance modes. That mode did look sort of blurry at times, and
So we see that even down to 51 it dropped, and sometimes it would go down to 40s. The difference here is that the Series X was always a more powerful console than this. You want to know why this happened, guys? It's not because of anything to do with Mark Cerny, like people say dumb stuff. No, it's because the developers were bull rushing PS5 settings onto the Xbox and were not designing it organically for it. Because the market share Sony had was making them more money, and they didn't want to spend extra money redesigning it for the Series X, which was full RDNA2 at the beginning with machine learning that people are now seeing on PlayStation 5. That's another thing they're running that Microsoft been had. Want me to prove this to you? Watch this. Series X. This is the thing that people were trying to do and double the teraflops because it was actually pointless. It's called DirectML, which is direct machine learning, right? Actually, what we need to do here is separate these right here. Yeah, I don't know why it's not pulling it up. It doesn't matter anyways. But if you look at the good lord, what the hell's going on with Google? It'll tell you it does not have 24 teraflops of DirectML power. It actually has 49, right? And you get into this type of nonsense. And the reason why is because they're using machine learning to double that. And this is not RDNA3, but they were trying to say that the reason why PS5 Pro had that is because of the RDNA3 and 4. And I was like, that's not the case. So you would see Series X has 12 teraflops of 32-bit compute, 24 teraflops of 16-bit. But the reality is that you're only going to use the 12.2 teraflops, and that's the performance you're going to be getting. And it's been there since day one in 2020. Microsoft was already ahead of them for that. But developers were not using the full capabilities of the Series X day one because, like I said, it would cost them more money because they also had to do a Series X patch. But instead, what they were doing is they were taking the PS5 settings, which were easily transferred over from the PS5 Pro for the market share, and they had RDNA 1.8, not fully integrated 2.0. And Xbox was just getting those settings, and it was looking like it was running better on PlayStation, only because of that, because the developers were not taking the opportunity to do that. That's it, because the math tells you that it's better. So now you're saying that because they're actually starting to do that, but by that time you kind of realize it's kind of shady, right? Sony comes out with the Pro, and now when you see that the Pro is right there, like I just don't trust Sony. They're very shady. So like I said, they had the market share, they're making more people money, and that's the reason why.
There were FPS drops, especially on the PlayStation 5. This is Unreal Engine 5 after all, which seems to be heavy on CPUs, which is perhaps the bottleneck when it comes to the PS5 hardware. Xbox Series X actually isn't too bad. It doesn't get those absurd drops like the PS5 in some heavier.
They have a 3.8, like 2.5 or whatever gigahertz CPU that is right there. The PlayStation 5 is 3.5 or whatever. So they have like that much more for all 8 cores. So that makes a difference for performance because you're running the frames. Of course, games are GPU heavy, but this generation now more than ever, because of the hyper details and stuff, now games are needing more CPU demand. It's went up by at least 15 and 20% more demanding. Definitely Unreal Engine 5 is very CPU heavy.
Areas. So when PS5 Pro got announced, there was some hope for Sony Space Marines. Does the PS5 Pro clean up the performance issues? Does the game look way better on the new console? Let's first start with the graphics comparison. Both consoles have the same 2 modes, quality and performance. Qualities shown here on PS5 versus PS5 Pro. Regular console runs between 1080p to 1440p and then upscales to 4K using FSR. The PS5 Pro ups that native resolution ranging between 1080p to actually 2160p, and it in fact sticks to a higher range quite often. The Pro then upscales that image to 4K using PSSR. Both consoles are targeting 30 FPS here. The difference here is fairly significant. This has to be one of the most dramatic improvements I've seen in graphics and image quality on the Pro. Now, while you're standing still, even this might not do
nice.
justice. It's actually substantially better when you're actually moving around and playing the game. Let's now look at performance mode, which this game actually refers to as speed. The difference in performance is perhaps even more dramatic. Regular console ranges between 720 to 1080p and then upscales to 4K using FSR. PS5 Pro ranges between 1080p to 1440p and then upscales to 4K using PSSR. both are targeting 60 FPS. Improvements in performance are perhaps even more dramatic. Sure, you get a sharper, more detailed image, but that's not all. I mean, here, have a look at the shadows, the lighting. The PS5 Pro seems to carry over the high quality lighting and shadows from quality mode. So in summary, visually, the PS5 Pro looks much better here than the Xbox Series X and the PS5. I'm showing a summary of the specs we just talked about here on the screen, so this is kind of directly from the developers. So PSSR does its magic on Space Marine 2, but what about the frame rate, the performance? Let's have a look at that 30 FPS quality mode quickly. This mode's locked to 30 on pretty.
Now, these type of things will change when FSR 4.0 comes out, because then you'll start to see that improvement on the Series X. So right now, the PSSR has a better image quality than an old FSR build that's happening right now. Because it's not up to date like it should be. But when it come out with 4.0, I promise you, you're not going to be seeing that anymore. And then it's going to come down to Sony's little advantage on their GPU, but Microsoft also having a better CPU in there. They both have great RAM. So like I said, the difference is not going to be that much of a difference starting next year. Remember I said this. We're talking about image quality. FSR is just a little bit behind and image clarity.
Pretty much every single console, the Series S, Series X, PS5, and PS5 Pro, of course, as well. Really no drops whatsoever from the areas I tested. Where the issues were before the Pro is in that speed or performance mode, and especially on the PS5. Series X was better, and for that reason, I'm showing all three for this comparison. Unfortunately, FPS drops.
Do we see that? The Pro actually went down to 53 frames. Series X has yet to drop down.
Are still an issue even on the PS5 Pro. You can see how it seems to be dropping at almost the exact same areas as the regular PS5, while the Series X seems to be chilling at that locked 60 FPS with only minor 1 to 2 drops. Sure, PS5 Pro might be.
So do we see this? This is because of CPU. Because PSSR is already doing what it's supposed to do. You know what I mean? So of course it's going to look better at the moment because they have a slightly better GPU with PSSR, having a better image clarity than FSR, as we see upscaling for FSR, because they're not giving consoles the full FSR that's even available right now. So that's why you're seeing this. But when Series X even gets 4.0, oh my God, I'm telling you, it's going to come down to Sony's extra GPU power and what they can squeeze out of it, because you're not going to notice a huge difference. Unless the game is just massively GPU demanding, then the Pro will exactly look a little bit better. But it's not going to be something major like this. This is the only game where it's like that. And that's because they're using an old FSR build.
Slightly better here compared to the regular PS5, but it's not the improvement you would expect. And
CPU limitations, I was telling people.
Certainly not when the Series X seems to be doing better. So it all goes down to that CPU. Sony never upgraded the CPU on the PS5 Pro that much, really. And it's really what the bottleneck here is. This game sums it all up nicely in terms of Unreal Engine 5 games on Xbox Series X versus PS5 versus PS5 Pro. The Series X is sort of flexing here with its slightly better CPU. One more thing I want to talk about is 120 Hz mode. There's some confusion around this. See my C4 OLED here? It's indicating the game's running at a 119 FPS. In fact, it's saying a 119 locked. This is that 60 FPS capped frame rate mode. It's not actually true here. Speed mode or performance mode is capped to 60 FPS, and some TV counters are just going to be showing up that 120 Hz VRR as the input signal. And that's what you need to know about Space Marine 2 on PS5 Pro. And
yeah, he's right about that. I mean, this game is demanding. And let you guys know, I have it on PC. I play it at, very high settings and stuff. Where's my Space Marine 2? Here it is right here. Space Marine 2. Amazing game. I recommend it if you guys don't have it. Like I said, I own everything, so I got a RTX 4070 Ryzen 9 Zen 4 CPU that goes up to 5.3 gigahertz, maybe a little bit more past that, turbo mode. 32 gigabytes of DDR6 RAM at 6400 megahertz, OLED monitor, and then another monitor right over here to the left. Just to show you guys, if you want to see, we can just go to display settings. Let's go ahead and drag that over here from my off-screen monitor. As you see, I have two monitors right here. And I got this running at 1800p for this monitor, just because I can still get my 144 hertz doing that. If I go up to 4K, it kind of knocks me down from that. And then down here, you see I have this running at 2160p, this monitor right here. And that's my LG monitor, by the way. This thing's like 28 or whatever. So yeah, we got a pretty good setup here. And you see I have my NVIDIA stuff right here. Just, just to give you guys a view right here. So the Ryzen 9. But yeah, I mean, this thing is nice. Definitely with DLSS and frame generation, it tears up stuff like really good. And I have the right amount of RAM. And I like laptops too as well, because I when I travel around and go other places, I can take it with me. And it's not that big of a deal. Now for desktop, I'm gonna try to wait for the 60 series, not the 50 series, and then build into that possibly and get that laptop too in the future. But here we have it. Let me know what y'all think. After this, he's just doing the same comparison builds. After this, he'll tell you, as you see,
and how it compares to other consoles. By the way, the PS5 Pro comparison was all done on the latest patch 5.1. For the rest of the video, I'm going to leave you with some more side-by-side.
But, we kind of already get the idea already. But yeah, let me know what y'all think. Like, comment, and subscribe. Obviously, the PS5 Pro, like I said, it's still a good console, but I don't think it's worth $700. As you can get the Series X on sale with the PS5 for a much better deal. And you can't get that on sale right now. So wait for the future for that. All right, y'all. Peace out.